Why you keep dreaming about school, exams, and being unprepared. Why your brain keeps sending you back to school in your sleep. The recurring dream is not about school. It is about pressure, uncertainty, and the fear of being tested without the rules. There is a particular kind of dream that can follow people for decades. You are back at school. You do not know where the next lesson is. You cannot find your timetable. Everyone else seems to understand the structure, while you are walking through corridors trying not to look exposed. Then the dream sharpens. There is an exam coming, often in a subject that feels cold, precise, and unforgiving. Math is one of the most powerful versions, because it feels like the purest form of judgment. There is a right answer, a wrong answer, and nowhere to hide. That is why these dreams can feel so strange. The person having them may be years beyond school, professionally competent, and nowhere near an actual classroom. Yet the emotional atmosphere brutally reminds you of pressure, uncertainty, comparison, and the sense that everyone else has been given information you somehow missed. Dreams about being unprepared for a test are widely recognized as a common anxiety dream theme, often involving being late, unaware of the exam, or not having studied. The school dream is a pressure map. The school setting matters, because school is often the first major institution where people learn that performance has consequences. Lessons, timetables, exams, teachers, grades, peer comparison, and public embarrassment all combine into a powerful emotional template. Even long after adulthood begins, the brain can still use that template when life starts to feel evaluative again. That does not mean the dream is literally about education. It means the mind has selected an old symbolic environment that still carries the emotional code of being assessed. The school corridor becomes a map of modern pressure. The missing lesson plan becomes uncertainty. The forgotten timetable becomes a lack of control. The need to ask friends where to go becomes a search for reassurance, direction, or social alignment. This is why the dream can appear during periods of professional transition, relationship instability, grief, financial pressure, or identity change. The details may be old, but the emotional pattern is current. Adult life often recreates the same feeling school once created. There are expectations, but they are not always clearly explained. There is a hierarchy, but the rules are partly invisible. There is a test, but nobody hands over the syllabus. The brain is not producing random theatre. It conveys a very specific feeling. I am expected to perform, but I am not fully sure what is required. Why does maths become the perfect nightmare subject? Math has a special psychological weight in these dreams because it symbolizes objective judgment. In an essay, there may be interpretation. In a conversation, there may be persuasion. In a creative task, there may be taste. Math feels different. Math suggests a final answer, a visible mistake, and a clean line between competence and failure. That is why a dream about a looming maths exam can appear even in someone who did not study A-level maths. The dream does not need to be biographically accurate. It only needs to be emotionally accurate. Math represents a kind of problem where charm, improvisation, or social intelligence may not be enough. You either know how to solve it, or you don't. That makes it an ideal dream symbol for adult situations involving dashboards, numbers, decisions, deadlines, strategy, money, leadership, or technical responsibility. The subject becomes a stand-in for any area of life where the dreamer feels that a mistake could be exposed quickly. The mind turns abstract pressure into a scene that can be felt immediately. For smart, ambitious, high-responsibility people, such dreams can be especially common. Their waking life may be full of problem-solving, judgment calls, and invisible standards. Even when they are doing well, the nervous system may still behave as if the exam is approaching and revision has not started. The dream is usually about anticipation, not failure. One of the most important details is that these dreams often do not show actual failure. They show the build-up to failure. The exam is coming shortly. The room cannot be found. The lesson is missing. The timetable is unclear. The dreamer is not usually sitting calmly with a marked paper showing 0. They are trapped in the moments before judgment lands. That distinction matters. The dream is less about confirmed inadequacy and more about anticipatory anxiety. The fear is not, I have failed. The fear is, I might be about to be exposed. This is why these dreams can be so emotionally sticky. They capture the dread before the event, when the mind is still trying to regain control. Research on exam dreams gives the topic an even sharper edge. A study of students before a competitive medical exam found that many dreamed about the exam beforehand, often in negative scenarios involving failure, lateness, or being unable to answer questions. Intriguingly, exam-related dreaming was associated with better subsequent performance rather than worse performance. That does not mean a negative dream guarantees success. It means the anxious dream may not be proof of weakness. It may be part of the brain's attempt to rehearse pressure, organize emotion, and simulate threat before the real demand arrives. The dream feels like a warning, but it may also be a preparation drill. The brain may be rehearsing stress in disguise. Dreaming is still not fully understood, but modern sleep research increasingly treats dreams as connected to memory, emotion, and threat processing, rather than meaningless noise. Dreams are often most intense during REM sleep, a stage associated with heightened brain activity and emotional processing. This matters because the school exam dream looks like a simulation. The brain takes an unresolved emotional problem from waking life and dresses it in a scene where the stakes are instantly recognizable. You are lost. You are late. You are underprepared. People may judge you. The clock is moving. The rules are missing. That is why the dream can recur. If the underlying emotional pressure remains active, the brain may return to the same symbolic theater again and again. Recurring dreams often carry negative emotional content, but they are not automatically nightmares in the clinical sense unless they wake the person and cause significant distress. The deeper point is that recurring school dreams may be less like prophecies and more like notifications. They tell the dreamer that the nervous system is still processing a situation where control, direction, competence, or social standing feels uncertain. Why high-functioning adults get these dreams? There is an obvious mistake people make with anxiety dreams, assuming they mean the dreamer is failing. Often, the opposite is true. People who care intensely about performance, duty, reputation, and progress may be more likely to have dreams where they are unprepared, late, or lost. The dream reflects investment, not laziness. The high-functioning adult often lives with a hidden internal scoreboard. They may be succeeding outwardly while still feeling that they must keep proving themselves. They may be respected at work, but still worry about missing a crucial detail. They may be in a better life phase than before, but still feel the old pressure to stay ahead, stay sharp, and avoid humiliation. This phase is where the dream becomes psychologically revealing. The school setting says, I am being assessed. The missing timetable says, I do not fully know what is expected. The math exam says, the judgment will be objective. The need to ask friends says, I need orientation, reassurance, or proof that I'm not alone. That makes the dream particularly common in adults who are moving through career pressure, emotional upheaval, new responsibility, or personal rebuilding. The mind reaches back to school, not because school matters now, but because it was where the emotional grammar of pressure was first learned. When the dream is normal, and when it needs attention, most recurring school or exam dreams are not a sign of serious illness. They are usually a stress signal, especially when they appear during demanding periods. Nightmares can be linked to stress, anxiety, irregular sleep, medication, mental health conditions, and trauma, while frequent nightmares that disrupt sleep and daytime functioning may require more direct support. The threshold is practical. If the dreams happen occasionally, feel uncomfortable, and fade after waking, they are probably part of ordinary stress processing. If they become frequent, terrifying, sleep-disrupting, or leave the person anxious through the day, they deserve more attention. Psychological therapies such as CBT can help people who have frequent nightmares, especially where anxiety, insomnia, or trauma is involved. There is also a useful middle ground. The dreamer does not need to panic, but should not ignore the signal either. A recurring dream is often the mind's way of asking for a waking life adjustment. Not a grand revelation, a correction, more structure, better sleep, clearer expectations, less late-night rumination, more honest recognition of pressure. For someone living through a demanding phase, the most powerful response may be simple. Identify the real-world exam. Is it work? A relationship? Money? Status? Grief? A deadline? A future decision? Once the real test is named, the dream often becomes less mysterious. The way out is to give the brain a timetable. The answer is not to decode every detail, as if the dream were a secret message. The answer is to reduce the waking life uncertainty that keeps feeding it. The dream says there is no timetable, so the waking response should be to create one. This is not a perfect life plan, a small, concrete structure. That might mean writing tomorrow's 3 priorities before bed. It might mean refusing to analyze work or relationships in the last hour of the night. It might mean asking clearer questions at work. What is the deliverable? Who signs it off? What does good look like? And what is out of scope? It might mean separating genuine responsibility from imagined judgment. There is also evidence-based logic behind mentally rewriting the dream. Imagery rehearsal therapy is a cognitive behavioral approach that helps people reduce the intensity of nightmares by changing the dream script and rehearsing a less frightening version while awake. For ordinary stress dreams, a lighter version can still help. Before sleep, imagine the school scene again, but this time you find the timetable. You enter the room. The math exam is open book. The teacher says, you have already passed the module. The point is not fantasy. The point is to give the brain a new route through the old corridor, the final message behind the dream. The school exam dream feels childish, but it is not childish. It is one of adulthood's cleanest anxiety symbols because it strips life back to its most brutal emotional ingredients: preparation, judgment, uncertainty, comparison, and control. The dream does not mean the person is weak. It does not mean failure is coming. It does not mean some hidden part of the mind wants to return to school. It means the nervous system has found an old stage on which to perform a current pressure. The smarter reading is this: the dream is not asking, can you pass math? It is asking, where in life do you feel tested without a clear plan? That is the question worth answering. Once the waking life gets clearer, the sleeping mind may stop sending the same message through empty corridors, missing timetables and exams that were never really about school at all.